Andy Ruiz made several mistakes in the first Anthony Joshua fight, which he needs to correct for the rematch if he wants to give himself the best chance of winning again. Now, in this video, I'm going to be using still images rather than actual video footage. If you want to see a version of this analysis where I'm using real video footage and taking you through slow motion of the actual fight itself, pointing out the mistakes Andy Ruiz was making, then head on over to my Facebook group, and at the very top of the group, you'll see the video is pinned there. So go watch it there. A lot of people like that video and they say I should do more videos like that. Well, you know, you can't really do them on YouTube without falling foul of copyright infringement, okay? So I'm just going to be using still images in this particular video, but if you want to see me using actual video footage to analyze that first fight and point out the mistakes both men were making, because in this video I'll be talking about Ruiz's mistakes, I'll do another video talking about AJ's mistakes, okay? So anyway, let's get to it. Now, we can see one of the mistakes that Ruiz made right here, where he was jabbing from too far out. He's a much shorter guy than AJ. He's got a shorter reach. He needs to move his feet in a bit closer to avoid things like this happening. This was, I think it might have been in the first round, where AJ walked him onto a really, really heavy jab. And you can see Ruiz's face snap back, where his jab is falling short, but AJ's jab has just cracked him right in the face. Really heavy jab that he got caught with there. And there was also another moment in the fight, I think it was in the second round, where he jabbed and it fell short, or it either fell short or hit AJ on the shoulder. And look, jabs to the shoulder can be effective in terms of, you know, hurting a guy's arms and making his guard drop. But nevertheless, what can also happen when you start jabbing to a guy's shoulder is, because, you know, when you jab to a guy's head, you blind him. You can't see what's coming after that. But when you jab to a guy's shoulder, he can see, you know, not only what's coming after the jab, but he can also see openings in your defense. And so in this instance, Ruiz jabbing from too far out gets caught by a very solid jab from AJ. That happened several times in the fight. And this right here was another example of it. Ruiz jabbing from too far out, not landing, and you can see Anthony Joshua poised to counter over the top with a right hand. And he did this move several times in the fight. In fact, interestingly, after watching the fight again a couple days ago, AJ was actually countering Ruiz over his jab, even after that infamous third round. Like in the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, AJ was still countering Ruiz over his jab. He wasn't as sharp as it was early in the fight because he was still a little groggy, but he was countering Ruiz over that jab. So here he's just poised. He's waiting for Ruiz to throw the jab. And this is the result. AJ punishes him with a right hand over the top for his trouble. Now, in that particular instance, as I say, Ruiz jabbing from a little too far out, not moving his head enough, he's standing too straight up. If you're going to throw a jab at a guy who's countering you over your jab all the time, one of the good things to do is to feint before you jab. Yeah, start at a jab, feint before you throw it to draw his lead. Then you can slip his right hand and come back with your own power shot. Or if he's going to jab at you, you can slip his jab and then come and finally hit him with your jab. So it's a good idea to actually start at a jab, feint with it to see what the other guy's going to do. You know, whether he's going to try counter it or not. That's something which Ruiz didn't do throughout the whole fight from what I saw. He wasn't feinting and trying to draw leads out of AJ so he could then counter the counterpuncher. You know, Andy Ruiz himself is a counterpuncher, a front foot counterpuncher. But AJ was countering a lot in the fight as well. So in a rematch, Ruiz would be well advised to try and use a few more feints. Don't stand so straight up, move his head a bit more, try coming lower, and avoid getting hit with shots like this. Another thing Andy Ruiz needs to look out for is AJ trying to trigger him. So AJ in the first fight was repeatedly just tapping Ruiz's gloves with his left jab, just pulling with his left jab to try and get a reaction out of Ruiz. And he was doing this at long range. As you can see here, they're at long range. Ruiz is not really in a position to start landing his power punches here. He's got quick hands, but his feet are slow. So AJ's tapping on Ruiz's gloves. And what does Ruiz do? he falls for the bait. He reacts to what AJ's doing, and that's the reaction AJ wants. In this particular instance, AJ doesn't punish him for missing, but in boxing, sometimes you don't want to punish the guy the first time he makes a mistake. I mean, sometimes you may not be in a position to punish him anyway, by way of, you know, your balance and your feet. You might not be in a position to punish him safely, but other times you'll want him to keep making the same mistake over and over again. So he gets comfortable making that mistake, then you punish him, maybe the second or third or fourth time that he does it, you know? So, yeah, he's tapping away, trying to trigger Ruiz, get him to react to what he's doing. And of course, Ruiz does react, and the right hand misses by quite a wide margin. And you can see Ruiz's body here. He's overreaching with the right hand. If you watch the video version of this, you'll see what I'm talking about a lot more clearly. But he's overreaching with the right hand. You can see his balance is not what it should be at this point. If this was, let's say, a prime Tyson, he had the foot speed to be able to land that shot there and punish AJ for the trap that AJ was trying to set. But in this instance, no. Andy Ruiz reacted to what AJ was doing. AJ got Ruiz to do what he wanted him to do in this situation. Ruiz's punches fell short. He ended up missing. Now, yeah, AJ didn't punish him with a counter in this instance, but even if the guy's not punishing you with counters, missing like this is giving your opponent data. He understands what you're going to do if he tries certain moves, and you're also wasting energy when you're missing like this, you know, putting yourself off balance and throwing big shots that don't connect. Okay, so here we see AJ landing a tremendous left hook on Andy Ruiz in the second round. Best punch of the round, really. He landed two very, very good shots at the start of the round, which I'm going to talk about as well, actually. But later on in the round, he lands this tremendous left hook. And this was right after he landed a counter right hand over Ruiz's jab, the one I showed you earlier. He landed his counter right over Ruiz's jab. Ruiz banged his gloves together, and he was a bit mad that AJ had caught him with the right hand. And he was, you know, kind of edging forward, looking to get revenge, but not thinking enough about defense. AJ steps in and catches him with a tremendous hook. Andy Ruiz, of course, iron-jawed, just shook off this hook like it was nothing. But it was a very, very good shot. And again, in the rematch, Andy Ruiz cannot afford to be so defensively lax as that, because the shots that don't hurt you in the second round, they might start hurting you in the 7th, 8th, and 9th round if they're still landing. So he can't afford to be getting hit with shots like this. Needs to move his head more. You know, needs to throw more feints to try and trigger AJ, and then you can counter his counters. And also needs to try and come in lower. I know it's difficult for Ruiz because he's got such a, you know, a big waist. So he doesn't have much room to maneuver when it comes to bending at the waist. But if it's possible, try and bend at the waist a little bit to come in lower, because he stands straight up a lot of the time. That's one of the main flaws that Andy Ruiz has, is he stands straight up too often, and he gets punished for it in the first fight several times. So this is the example I'm talking about here. This is the start of the second round. Ruiz and AJ, they're at long range. Ruiz comes in, so he's stood straight up here. He's not crouching low, he stood straight up, and he is a good height for AJ to be able to get at him. And as they move in, Ruiz tends to throw wide. That's another mistake that he makes, is he throws wide punches a lot of the time, Andy Ruiz. He wings with his punches. He's throwing a wide shot, AJ's throwing a straight shot. AJ's shot gets there before Ruiz's does. Again, in the video version of this, you will see me go through the actual slow-mo of this particular sequence, and you'll see what I'm talking about more clearly. But Ruiz throws wide, the straight punch is going to get there first. So Ruiz's punch actually falls short. AJ's left lands clean. As you can see there, look at Ruiz's head. His left has missed. AJ's left has landed clean. And AJ follows up with a right hand, which also lands clean. And Ruiz's right hand is again wide. Yeah, so that's two mistakes here that Ruiz makes. He comes in with his head too high up, and he's also throwing wide punches when he should try and shorten them, because they'll stand a better chance of landing, particularly when AJ is throwing straight shots like this. And just to give you an example of what I mean, by a fighter who comes in low, here we have Povetkin against AJ. So this is what Ruiz should be trying to do more of, is coming in low, because you're not such an easy target for straight punches against a tall guy like AJ. We know AJ's got a good uppercut, but when Povetkin comes in low, he's also bobbing and weaving. He's moving his head from side to side, even to avoid uppercuts. And in this particular sequence, this is at the end of the first round against AJ, and Povetkin successfully comes in low. He feints with the right hand. Again, he's trying to trigger AJ. He's trying to see what AJ is going to throw. He feints with the right hand as he comes in low. See, that's him feinting with the right hand. He doesn't actually throw that right hand. He's coming in low, so AJ can't land the right hand easily to his chin coming in. Feints with the right hand. And then he actually hits AJ with a left hook first, which lands and actually busts AJ's nose. Then he follows up with an uppercut. Look how short Povetkin's punches are compared to Ruiz's. He doesn't throw big winging punches. Look, Povetkin doesn't have the stamina of Andy Ruiz at 38 or 39, however old he was when he fought AJ. Doesn't have Ruiz's stamina. Doesn't have Ruiz's energy. And probably doesn't even have Ruiz's chin. The one thing he does have is shorter punches. He doesn't throw big, wide, winging shots like Ruiz. Povetkin has better technique in his hooks and uppercuts. Much more short and compact, more difficult to read what Povetkin's doing. Better upper body movement than Ruiz. Comes in lower, moves his head more, faster feet. So, you know, from a technical point of view, Povetkin's actually a better fighter than Andy Ruiz. He just doesn't have the youth and the stamina, the toughness anymore that Ruiz currently has. But from a technical point of view, he does many things better than Andy Ruiz, Alexander Povetkin. And this particular sequence showed it, where he was able to get on the inside using head movement, coming in low. AJ wasn't able to catch him with anything. Then he feinted with the right hand, something you very rarely see Andy Ruiz doing. Hit AJ with a three piece, a combo. Left, then followed by the uppercut, then another left. And it left AJ on wobbly legs at the end of the sequence. There's the uppercut landing. AJ's legs buckled at the end of the first round in their fight. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. Povetkin doing it the right way. If you're going to be a short guy coming in, trying to get on the inside against AJ, stay low. Don't have your head up in the air like Ruiz was getting caught coming in constantly in them first couple rounds. And it's something which has happened to Ruiz in many of his fights, by the way. It's not just the AJ fight. There are many other fights where he just comes in with his head in the air and he gets caught. One of the fights where I saw it happen to him a lot was a fight that he won, of course, because he got a very good chin. A fight that he won against Tor Hamer. If you watch that Tor Hamer fight, I mean, Hamer can't miss in them first couple rounds against Ruiz. He is hitting Ruiz with everything but the kitchen sink, because Ruiz just does not move his head, comes in far too straight up, and he's getting caught time and time again by Tor Hamer. And he'll get caught time and time again by AJ unless he makes that adjustment in the rematch. He needs to move his head, needs to come in lower. So here's another mistake that Andy Ruiz made in the first fight. This is the third round, and it's the sequence where the first knockdown occurs, where Ruiz gets dropped. Now AJ is in the corner prior to him being here up in Ruiz's chest. He was in the corner, and from that position, there's only two things he can do to get out of the corner and avoid being trapped by Ruiz, who's obviously going to open up. He can either try and do some slick maneuvering around the perimeter of the ring, or he can try and go through Ruiz. He chose the latter. He chose to try go through Ruiz. And AJ actually does some pretty good technical things here. Now, it's not ideal and it's not advisable to be this close to Andy Ruiz. So from a technical point of view, that's not good. But from a balance point of view, well, from a tactical point of view, I should say, that's not good to be this close to Ruiz because he's got a good chin, fast hands, all that. But from a technical point of view, what he did here was good because AJ's stance is strong and his lead foot, his left foot, is in the middle of Andy Ruiz's 2 feet. Ruiz at this point is square and he's standing again straight up. You see, so Ruiz is not in a strong stance in this particular instance. AJ is in a strong stance with his, look at that, the forearm in between Ruiz's chest. Ruiz is in a position here where he can get easily knocked off balance. And that's exactly what happens. So AJ comes on the inside here. He finds his entry point to start exchanging. He's in the stronger position. Ruiz is not in a good position from a balance perspective. He's standing too straight up. If a tall guy like AJ tries to get low, I mean, AJ's lower than Ruiz here. If the tall guy gets low, you better get low as well. That's a mistake Ruiz made here. And he knows it anyway. He's talked about this in a couple of interviews, that he knows he made a mistake of standing too straight up here. So they've acknowledged that, and hopefully they address it in the rematch. But yeah, too straight up. If the big guy comes in and gets low, you get low too. You can't allow him to do what you're supposed to be doing. Get low. Doesn't get low, stand straight up. AJ's got the jump on him as far as balance because he's got his left foot in between Ruiz's feet. And look what happens. AJ moves him back a little bit more to push Ruiz off balance. They start hooking. AJ, of course, goes with the uppercut, and it results in that tremendous left hook landing. The uppercut first, then the left hook, and down goes Andy Ruiz. Okay? Mistake by Andy Ruiz there. Several mistakes cost him, and he ended up on the floor. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I'm just talking you through the mistakes that Andy Ruiz made in the first fight, which, if he wants to win the rematch, he needs to be correcting. Yeah, and look, he still won the first fight, even though he made all those mistakes. But he has to expect and he has to train for Anthony Joshua to be better in the rematch. And if your opponent's going to be better, then you need to be better. Yeah, now, there is no telling whether Anthony Joshua actually will be better, but if you're a professional, like Andy Ruiz is, then you expect the best. You don't expect an easy fight. You go in there expecting actually an even tougher fight than the first fight. If it turns out to be easier, that's a bonus. But that's not the mindset that you have to have going into a rematch like this. The mindset you have to have is it's going to be even tougher than first time around, so I need to be better. And if he wants to be better, he needs to make the adjustments and other adjustments too. These are just some of the technical adjustments Andy Ruiz needs to make and the mistakes he needs to avoid repeating in the rematch if he wants to win. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And again, if you want to watch the video version, follow the instructions I've already laid out in this video, because I did do a video version where you actually see the moving images, me taking you through the slow motion of the video itself of the first fight and explaining all the mistakes both men made, not just Ruiz. So I'll do a separate video on this about the mistakes AJ made. So yeah, make sure you catch that one as well. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.